Hi there, welcome back to the channel. My name is Tommy. If this is your first time checking out the channel, I talk about ex-vegan, but obviously being an ex-vegan, obviously fitness, nutrition and religion as well. Today I'm actually bringing on a great Polish activist who is vegan. Her name is Veganica. If you'd like to just introduce yourself, Veganica, tell the people a little about your story, how you became vegan. I think that'd be a great way to kind of segue into things.
Hello, welcome. I hope you already know me because it's not my first time on Tommy's
Absolutely.
channel, but maybe somebody is new, and the video will be on both our channels. So I also need to welcome my own audience and both also Tommy's audience. Yes, I am from Poland, so I am non-native English speaker. In fact, I have a huge problem with understanding Tommy's pronunciation. So
Yeah.
sometimes you may feel that I don't really relate to what he answered. Maybe sometimes I need to listen later to fully understand what he answered. So I feel better in the position of like telling my version and then asking questions to me, because sometimes I don't understand the whole his answer. I'm really curious in your, Tommy, experience with animal rights movement.
Yeah.
I am very curious about the reasons why you left the movement. When for some time we even had an impression, I had the impression that you were even anti-vegan. Well, then you deny this, and I see that you are very friendly to me and very supportive to my work. So, so actually, I want to understand well what happened, why you left. I'm very obsessed about effectiveness of our work for animals. I want to see the results. I know that many results is impossible to see. It's a rather investment in new generations. But I am interested in this kind of activity which is realistic, something. I want to focus on this, what we have chance, we have any chance to make a change. I really want to make a change, not just to talk about, theoretical, moral, something very abstract, which for majority of people will be completely abstract. Yes. So I really want to make, so therefore I really want to hear, but we decided that maybe this conversation we'll make another time, because probably it's going to be a longer conversation, because you also promised to tell me about your experience in slaughterhouse, which I also want to hear. So probably this is going to be a longer conversation.
I think I could probably just kind of summarise it to start with, to give people obviously a kind of segue into what we'll be talking about next time. But really why I left obviously was because of health reasons. That was the part of the reason why I left veganism. But why I left the actual vegan movement was basically because of infighting within my movement that I started. Obviously, people that have watched my channel actually know that I started the Save movement and Anonymous for the Voiceless, vegan outreach in Scotland, well, in Ayrshire, Scotland, where I live. And what I found was I brought on a lot of new activists to obviously help as basically as kind of co-organisers of the group. From there, they were really, really friendly. Then further down the line, what actually happened was there started to be a lot of infighting in the group chat that we had, basically making accusations about various people and myself. And they were basically fighting for power, really. It was all about getting them in charge and kicking out the organisers, which was myself and Lucy, who actually started the group. So first off, Lucy actually left the group because of infighting. I stayed on for a little while. I thought everything was going really, really well, and then basically the infighting just kept going on and on and on. It got to the point, like I say, that they were just really wanting power, and sadly that seems to be what happens in the vegan movement. They seem to be that people come on board, but they want power, they want it to be about them rather than the animals that they're fighting for. And for me, that just came to the drawing point where I felt to myself, if it's not going to be about the animals and it's going to be about them, then I'm going to step aside and I'm not going to have anything to do with it, because I wanted it to be focused on the animals, and that's what it always should be. But I feel that some people get involved in it for the wrong reasons, and that certainly was the experience that I had.
But Tommy, So we must decide right now, because I know that the time is limited we have. So shall we continue this topic? Because
I would say,
it
yeah,
might
continue
be
this.
long, or maybe today we will discuss a little bit what is actually very, very, broadly discussed. And I even myself uploaded recently video about Holocaust, and I saw you were on Tristan,
Yeah,
Primal Edge Health channel, uh, also related to this topic. So maybe we will shortly discuss rather this topic and your how you and religion, because recently I had several religion related topics. So maybe let's focus today on this topic, and we will get
yeah,
back to animal rights movement
absolutely.
next time. Okay.
That's great. Yeah.
Okay, so I will tell you, I saw you on Primal Edge Health channel, but I didn't have time to watch it because there was more than 3 hours.
It was quite long.
It's
Yeah.
crazy long, so I
Yeah.
didn't have time to watch it. So I don't even know what you said there. I saw only a short piece from Tristan's speech, which was very, very weird to me. He said he was mocking the idea of chicken's Holocaust, something like this, which is for me another proof that he had never had the Bible in his hands. That I'm sure he had never read the Bible, because he would very fast, very easily, actually, in the third book, you will immediately find the description of chicken's Holocaust. It's all there. So that his behavior was crazy to me. But anyway, let's not talk about Tristan. I'd like to know your opinion. What do you think? What is your position in this whole battle uh, around this world about usage of this term Holocaust referring to animals? What do you think about this?
In my opinion, it's something I never even used when I was vegan because I found it actually turned people off rather than actually kind of let their minds actually know the differences between, because I feel what was going on there is they're equating it to like people, and it's anthropomorphizing animals. I feel that's, in my opinion, it's a wrong way to go, because I feel you should be focusing on the animal's traits. And obviously, I do believe that animals have souls. So I'll put that out there right away. That's something I've always believed in. But I believe it's doing the wrong thing by using the word Holocaust, because I believe it's mocking everything that happened to the Jews. Obviously, my grandfather fought in the Second World War. He was a prisoner of war, but he got caught by the Japanese. So for me, I feel it's quite derogatory. I don't feel it's a good way to go.
The Holocaust referring to Jewish people, but that's also another huge problem, because when you say that it refers to Jewish people, you are already discriminating half of the victims. There is already another huge international conflict around this notion, because Jewish want to emphasize their role. They are promoting their nation through. They get a lot of profits, and they until now they make a huge business of this, and they want to be the only. They want to exclusively want to this Holocaust word to be referred to them, while they are just half of the victims. Originally,
I can understand that.
concentration
Yeah,
camps were built for
I don't
Polish people.
I don't feel, maybe it's just the kind of language barrier, but I don't feel it's them promoting that to endorse themselves. I believe it's because they were the majority that was persecuted in that.
They were
I'm not
half,
saying
about half. Okay, they were very important, but not majority. They were half of victims. So you cannot say they are important and Poles and mainly,
no, no. I'm
concentration camps were built for
not for
Poles,
one
so they are
second saying
less
that.
important,
Yeah.
or gypsies were less important, or other groups. So I think we must
Nobody's less
be
important than
honest.
another.
That's another topic. That's political, huge issue, international big
Yeah.
conflict. You are Scottish, so you are probably not even aware of this, because it's mainly the conflict between Poland and Israel. So, and
Yeah.
America is deeply involved, deeply, deeply. Okay, so that's our international huge conflict. So, but anyway, originally Holocaust has always referred to animals, animal sacrifices for the gods. So they compared their fate to animals' fate. So to be correct, we must say that Holocaust is above all and first of all, it's animal sacrifice. And then as a metaphor, they use them to describe their faith as faith similar to animals which they used to abuse that terribly. That's it. So I understand that you, yes, you want to say something?
I think you can you could use that in any context because it's been used in major battles all throughout history. Even in things like the Scottish battle, the Battle of Culloden, it's always been used. Holocaust, massacre.
Yes.
But I feel that my personal opinion is that anthropomorphizing that, I believe, turns people off. I'm just saying what I believe because I've seen it personally when I use it on the streets. Obviously, I've done Anonymous for the Voiceless and many other forms of vegan activism. Every single time the word Holocaust was used, people just shut off and they walked away because I'm just trying to advocate what is best to actually put it across to people because I feel that when you do that, it just turns people off.
Those are two completely different things. When you are doing your activism, of course you are thinking which is better. Me, I am sometimes changing my opinion even day to next day. Like one day I think, no, I should do this way. Another day, no, this is not a good idea. I will focus on completely other activities or completely different narrative. I'm constantly thinking which is better, which is worse.
I can understand that because
yes,
because I was going to say I can understand that because what one way of advocacy that you advocate to a person will be very different to another. So I used the Socratic method quite a lot when I was vegan, but a lot of people like to hear the cold hard truth. They like to really be like get the grim truth, like using words like murder and things like that. It hits home to them. But I feel that for the people I was talking to, and the majority of the people, that just really turned them off. But like you said, you can use a lot of different methods. Like some people will really like the kind of really hard method.
Yeah, therefore I'm not asking which is a better way to whether this is good or bad method. Maybe we can discuss on our another meeting when we will be talking about in general the animal rights movement, which is good, like which way we should work, which works, which doesn't work. But another thing is what you really think, because you may think one thing, but it doesn't mean that you have to use this argument. So exactly. I'm asking, what is your true opinion? Just according to your opinion, you don't have a problem with calling. I think that it's a bit lacking the precision, because usually when they describe what they describe as animal holocaust, usually they show images of factory farms, and so this is rather the picture of concentration camps. So holocaust is not exactly the same as concentration camps. So I think concentration camp would be more precise word. But of course, it's another thing if you want to use it for people or not. Yes.
I don't think they're concentration camps because, like I say, I've actually worked in a slaughterhouse, and I could go into a lot in that in the future video that we do, but they're not. I wouldn't say they're concentration camps in that sense. I feel that's totally different.
What do you think when you hear about gas chambers? Because gas chambers are famous from concentration camps. So
I feel
do you think we should emphasize that gas chamber is always a bad thing? Doesn't matter whether we
absolutely.
place there people or pigs. It's always.
Absolutely.
Do you think it's the same?
It's majorly cruel, and I feel that should be something that should be outlawed. I don't know why it is, but especially in the UK, that's the UK animal welfare way of actually like slaughtering pigs, especially in England. Not.
I didn't hear. There was a broken connection. I don't know. Maybe only from my side. Maybe it was recorded.
I was going to say I feel it should be. Obviously, gas chambers should be outlawed. I feel that they're really cruel. They're really inhumane. But unfortunately, it seems to be that in the UK, especially England anyway, that is the UK animal welfare way of actually killing pigs. In Scotland, it's very, very different. They basically slaughter them the way they would slaughter a cow. It's basically just like in the throat kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, I feel it's a horrible way. I mean, it's like, I don't know why anybody could support that. It's something I would never ever support in my life. Hence why I don't eat beef. I don't eat bacon, anything like that. I'm basically all about. I have some fish and the occasional eggs. That's as far as I go. Basically because I like to do what's best for my health and also doing my part for the animals. And I feel even if you aren't vegan, you should be striving to do the very, very best you can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I also agree that we shouldn't appeal only to vegan, but we should be in dialogue with also non-vegan, because actually probably the bigger change for animals can be done by non-vegan. You know, I think them even reducing or deliberately stopping. I'm always trying to encourage people to at least or at first to stop buying chickens, because it's the most bloody, the biggest number of victims is in poultry business. This is the most horrible thing. So
They're the most factory farmed. That is for sure. I mean, I would say if you're obviously going to go and buy chicken, do it locally, free range, that are actually roaming in grass all the time. There's not many of them, but there is small farms that do that. But like you said, the majority of chickens are mostly all factory farmed, and they get like a little postage stamp square to actually move in. So there's like 6,000 to a barn.
no,
Quite
but it's
horrible.
just one dinner for family and one whole life, one agony and just one short dinner for just one family. It's the most cruel, the most ineffective, the most cruelty, the most suffering in each piece, each 100 grams of the meat. So
But that brings us back to the same point that I was going to make as well. It's like you've got to look at it that people's health matters as well. I don't believe everybody can be vegan. Unfortunately, that is the truth. There's a lot of health issues that obviously stop people with being vegan. But like I said earlier, that doesn't stop you doing the best you can. You should always strive to do your best for the animals, the planet, your health as well. That's what I've always believed.
what do you think about the idea of not the idea, but this whole project of lab-grown meat? Do you think if it will start to being available in Scotland, you will be buying this one?
Personally, I really wouldn't endorse that because I don't really know what's in it. I feel that that's like swapping one bad behaviour for probably another. I feel that it's not something that we've actually in all our ancestry that we've actually consumed. So it's the same. It's going back to like processed foods again. Like the biggest problem with dietary recommendations is many people follow the American standard diet, and that's why I believe that when they go initially vegan at the start, they get a lot of like health benefits, and then further down the lines maybe things can set in. So I would say adding in things like the lab grown meat is just swapping another bad thing that's going to be another issue. Personally, I wouldn't support it. I
I,
know there's it's maybe something that some people would look into if they want to actually consume red meat and they want to go that way, but I wouldn't support it.
I personally think that it's exactly the opposite. In case of lab-grown meat, you can exactly know what is there, because you will get the full chemical analysis. You will know how much protein and what is there, and you know exactly that this is what is there. This what they declare. It is like there will be standard chemical components, and you will know. This is the only chance that you will know what you have there, because it's the opposite. When you are buying from the slaughterhouse, then you really don't know how many kinds of bacteria, mold, and viruses, and pathogens, and shit, and
I agree with
and
I
how
agree with
much
that. Yeah,
chemicals, how much antibiotics. There is a lot of a lot of chemicals, a lot of pathogens in meat, so that you can say you have no idea what you are buying. But in this case, it's sterile. There are no parasites, no bacteria. It's the only safe option to have meat. Yes. So I think it's exactly the opposite. Okay, something, the connection is sometimes broken.
So yeah,
Mm-hmm. All right.
yeah, I see it's kind of. Yeah, I was just going to say I totally agree with what you're saying there, in that you don't know what you're getting for slaughterhouses and things, because obviously I worked in a slaughterhouse. I seen things like animals having like cancerous growths in them, and the cancerous growths were just getting cut off and then repackaged and sent back out into the meat production lines and things like that, into the supermarkets. But what I would say is that you do know what you're getting for a local farm. That's what I would say. Don't support factory farms. Don't support slaughterhouses. Support local farms. You know that if you're going there, you're getting beef and there's nothing else in it. Animals in Scotland, especially in local farms, aren't given antibiotics. There is farms that you can go and see the whole process. So I would say if you're going to do that, support farms like that. Don't be supporting supermarkets that obviously get factory farm food and the animals live a horrible life. It's bad all round.
You know, the problem is that those guys, I don't include you among them because you are not really openly support eating meat. But for example, guys like for example Tristan or Bart, they always mention, yes, buy the best meat from local farm and so on and so on. But there are thousands of people listening to him from various countries where they don't have this such farms or this quality of meat. They hear, oh, this is the meat is good, the meat will cure all my diseases, the meat will solve all my problems. They believe in any magical power of meat. Many people are this way. They believe it's meat is magic, will solve all their problems. But for example, in Poland, all those small farms, pig farms, were destroyed by African swine flu, and so actually we almost don't have it. Yes, so you won't get good quality of meat. You can just go to supermarket. Very often it's imported from, very often from sick animals from abroad. For example, from Denmark, they are selling sick animals to Poland. People buy it, people don't know it. One farmer even is trying to sue them in the court that the quality of meat in Polish markets is poisonous. Is that poisonous? We will see whether he has chances to win. What the court will say, I'm really curious. So because sometimes they say, oh, you vegans say this. No, Polish farmer who is fighting against those big factory farms, he decided to sue them, and he has the chemical analysis of those the meat in our supermarkets that it's pure poison, and we will see. So
I
all
think
those
I
people,
think I
yeah.
think what Tristan's actually talking about is like I don't know what. Obviously, you've kind of summarised what it's like in Poland, but I feel that most countries do have good local farms that they can go to. Obviously, you've summarised that Poland's totally different. I believe what Tristan's trying to say is he's going from it. He's a local farmer himself. He knows a lot of local farmers around the states and everything, and he's basically saying support them. So I can understand where he's coming from as well, and I can understand your point just the exact same on your country. Like I say, every country is slightly different, and that's why I would say don't listen to everybody. Look at your own country and what the
I
scenario
don't know
you're dealing
because
with.
I had seen recently, even on garden farms, his post that he's complaining that factory farms are trying to destroy local farms. That even he already decided to quit cows, and he will only focus on those smaller animals because they are destroying this business. So maybe
There's
it
there's
won't
a
be.
reason for that though. That's because these big farms actually get government subsidies, so they actually
Yeah, of
earn
course.
money
So
from the
it's
government.
everywhere like this in the whole
So
European
they'll
Union.
they'll
The
they'll
bigger,
push
the bigger
they'll push out
subsidies.
they'll push out the small local farms. That's why dairy farms in Scotland, they've basically nearly went bust. They're nearly bankrupt because
Yes, yes, exactly. They're
all the
bankrupting. They
all
have
the
no,
supermarkets.
they have no chance to compete. So, all right, but anyway, we have just small time. So I don't know. So tell me, let's get back to maybe religion. Religion, okay? How did you feel like during my last debate when you heard as a justification of killing animals, the verse that God gave us dominion over animals. How did you feel it? Because I think all of us vegans who had watched the movie Dominion, so for me, I felt like each time. So I was trying not to show my reaction, just I was trying, yeah. How did you feel as a Christian hearing such explanation that it's okay because God gave us dominion over animals?
Well, you've got to look at it. A lot of people don't understand that the Bible's been translated many different times through different languages, Greek and things like that. A lot of the words in the Bible have been lost in translation. Actually, if you look into it, what dominion actually means, it means stewardship of the animals. So it means shepherding, looking after the animals. Whereas people take it as dominion over the animals, that isn't actually what it meant. So
Looking
that's
after, but
totally false,
looking
really,
after
in my
doesn't
view.
looking after care doesn't include killing, and unfortunately in
Yeah.
the Bible, over many pages of the Bible, we have a lot of descriptions of Holocaust, of animals Holocaust. The whole book of Leviticus is about animals Holocaust, almost. It's the main topic. How to do Holocaust, how to make it properly.
But you still can't
So
rule out everything that happened after the fall.
it's in contradiction to what you said, that it's our care about animals. So you cannot care and then sadistically kill them, because it's also very important to emphasize that, to stress this, that it's not the same as, Jewish wanted to kill their sufferer as Holocaust. They were trying to compare their suffer to animals Holocaust, but you can never compare gas chamber to that Holocaust, because they were sadistically tortured until death. It's not the same as gas chamber. Gas chamber is not as cruel as a biblical Holocaust.
Well, you could take it in a lot of different contexts because, like I was going to say, like you've got to understand that you can't rule everything that happened after the fall. The fall precedes everything else. That's where a lot of people get things wrong. They take parts of the Bible and they cherry pick them to suit their own narrative. Like I say, everything that happened after the fall, God actually did give people permission to eat animals, but at the same time, He didn't give them dominion over animals. He didn't say that you could go and just slaughter animals and do what you want. He
Mhm.
did. He did give you permission to eat animals. Yes, that is
I
partly true.
think that's the main problem. That's the main problem, that Christians are trying to cover many atrocities by context. But in which context you are allowed? You are allowed, for example, to smash the little girl, or crush the boy on the rock, or in which context? It's okay and it's moral to sell your own daughter as a sexual slave to another man. Is there any such context? Can you justify by context? Because, for
Well,
example, if we are talking about brutal murder over a little child, or an infant is an infant. Infant doesn't understand his son. It is what was the scene of his grandfather, and why he is now supposed to be brutally murdered. Infant doesn't understand in what century he's living. It's just his little soul, no, just came to this world. And why you think, in what context can justify torturing and killing brutally infants?
well, that's the point. It's not very hard to convince somebody that the Bible's full of contradictions. That is, if they don't know the Bible very well, all you have to do is actually cite things like Proverbs, where it actually says, answering a fool to his folly. That's Proverbs 26, chapter 4. Or maybe point out Matthew, where he places the Sermon on the Mount, things like that. Even Elijah is a good king in 2 Chronicles chapter 13. And you can do things like, obviously, a little digging, however, will actually show you that Proverbs isn't written to usually give universal valid principles. So the Gospels are not meant to simply like factual reports, but bring out the theological significance of real events that interfered with contemporary audience. So it's basically, you've got to look at it that they're very, very different. Like, I don't know why you can cite a lot of different chapters and actually come away with different things.
But okay, let me read to you just short verse from the Bible, from Hosea. I don't know, Hosea. How do you read it? Hosea, a book. The people of Samaria must bear their guilt because they have rebelled against their God. They will fall by the sword. Their little ones, we have infants, will be dashed to the ground. Their pregnant women ripped open. So this is kind of abortion, yes? The pregnant women ripped open. So we will kill the child. So the God is ordering to kill unborn child.
Well,
What context or historical context can justify this situation and this God's order?
I've wrote this down, so just follow along with me. I'm just going to say, of course, people who bring this charge against the Bible don't have these instances of human violence and injustice in their mind, but rather they are thinking of the many stories where God brought violence on people either directly or through agency of his followers. Think of the flood story in Genesis chapter 6, verse 9, the killing of the Egyptian soldiers at the Red Sea, Exodus chapter 14, verse 15, or the conquest, Joshua chapter 1, verse 12. But while it is hard to get our 21st century Western minds around it, these are stories of justice, bad people receiving the judgment that they deserved. God brings the flood against the violent humanity in Genesis chapter 6, verse 11 to 12. He closes the Red Sea against the Egyptian soldiers who were wanting to try to kill the Israelites, and he commands Joshua to fight the Canaanites because their sin had reached its full measure. It's only people who have lived in relatively peaceful circumstances who have the luxury of being turned off by such stories. The hard truth of the Bible is that people who reject God and harm other people will eventually receive punishment for them. That's also the message of the New Testament and the teaching behind the heaven and hell. The divine violence of the Bible is part of God's battle against evil, and the battle develops as time goes on. When Jesus comes, he eventually heightens and intensifies the battle so that it is now directly toward the spiritual powers and the authorities, and these enemies are defeated not by killing but by dying on the cross, where he triumphs over this. So that's my interpretation of it.
But of that particular situation, what will happen to this killed, murdered, unborn child? Because according to church, the child before being baptized won't go to heaven. And why children are being punished for their father's sins? You cannot say about a child that he abandoned God, that he was disobedient, or you can say nothing about this new soul.
So, do you believe that God is then sadistic? Is that what you're trying to say?
No, exactly. I don't believe that God is sadistic. Therefore, I believe the Bible is not any reliable source of knowledge about God, because what is written, it doesn't fit. In no way it can describe God. This is like, those are typical human, the worst human features here described, yes?
Yeah, but you've got to
Very
understand, like, it's just the people in the Bible are just like us. There's going to be good and bad in the world. That's always going to happen. But at the same time, you can't dismiss the Bible and then say you believe in God, because that is God's word.
This is what I'm trying to say. This is not God's word, because God's word is you must go and make woman ripped open. God is saying this. No, this is not God's word. You can have direct relationship with the God. You don't need Bible.
But I would ask
you can talk to God directly.
God actually do you worship? Because I'm not sure. Actually, that's what I was going to ask you. What God actually do you worship? Because I'm not sure it's the Christian God, or it's Zeus, or whoever it is, Odin, whatever. I'm not sure. And I mean, you've got
the God I'm worshiping has nothing to do with human features at the first place.
but we're actually created in the image of God, so we are God's likeness. God may not have human features, but we are created in the image of God. So
I'm contemplating again a lot about what kind of consciousness the God may have, and actually it is very difficult to define what kind of relationship we may have with God. It's very, very difficult. I can only say that when I am praying, I get results. My prayers are fulfilled. About what, for Jay, it was so much shock because he doesn't believe in God. He was shocked that prayers can be fulfilled. So he called me mentally ill when I said that I pray and I get my prayers are fulfilled. And I have true relationship with the God. He never prayed and never probably he doesn't have relationship. It was like crazy.
I mean,
if I
he's
sound
he's a big believer in God. Yeah, he's a big believer in God. But I just feel it was quite wrong of him to start going down the road of insulting. I will say that 100%. That shouldn't have happened. But
so I say that I have my prayers fulfilled. This I can claim, but I can never claim 100% that they are fulfilled by the God himself, because I don't know, maybe there are also other beings like angels, let's call them angels. I have no idea.
yeah,
I
but
only say
you've
that
also
it
you've also
works.
got to be
Yes,
aware
I
that you
pray, I get the answer. I ask, I am said. I am, for example, about many events, I know in advance. I
So
have
what actually led you to leave Christianity? I will ask you that. What was the reason
what
for that?
exactly such words, exactly the Bible. I'm reading, and I want to be honest. Is it possible that God is telling this to me? That is it possible that God is telling this? Is it God's word? No way. This is this is false. This is fake. This is exploitation by Moses, exploitation of poor people, of simple people. He was pretending to speak on behalf of God. I believe that I know much more about God than Moses. So also I can write the Bible. If
I
I
really
was
don't
as
feel.
bad person as Moses, I would write the Bible and try to teach this is God's word. But I am
But
not such a dishonest person.
how do you know what you're getting is from God? Because we leave ourselves open to satanic deception. That is unfortunately the way the devil works. And for you to dismiss the Bible then could be the devil actually trying
No.
to
This is
gravitate you away from
but okay,
Christianity.
can be anything worse than what is written in the Bible. For example, in God demands Holocaust, which is the most sadistic method of kill you can imagine. What can be worse? Nothing can be worse. So the way God is described, it's nothing lower. It's the bottom of the cruelty. Yes, nothing can be worse than this.
But
So therefore,
like I
so
told you
maybe
earlier
this
on,
is Satan.
that's all laid out.
Maybe this is Satanic Bible, but not God's Bible.
It's definitely not a satanic Bible. It's like I told you
So
that
maybe it's just fake Bible. I think, in fact,
it's definitely not fake. Definitely not fake either.
I think Moses was just
Like
he wanted to
God
exploit
is
people.
justice.
And
God is justice. That's
I think
all.
actually the modern science is telling us a lot about God. We shouldn't ignore this because we know a lot about God thanks to modern science.
Modern science, in the most part, actually dismisses God. Unfortunately,
No way.
it's
Actually, the
very.
opposite.
There is a few. I'll give you that. There is a few
Not
scientists
few,
that are.
most, the majority of actually by science, the top of the science, I mean, is quantum physics. Most of physicists believe in God, and even during my debate on God existence, I use the arguments from quantum physics from our best professors, and they are, of course, they are believers. And quantum physics, it's not like 100%. It's suggesting that there must be consciousness behind it. Is suggesting, it's not like I cannot treat it as 100% proof, but as a very, very strong suggestion. And
Well,
yes,
the most of the scientists I've seen that have actually spoken about it, they basically advocate everything under the Big Bang. But I'll always say that the Big Bang couldn't have happened without a creation, because nothing comes from nothing. So that is always the case. Everything, there had to be a greater plan there. There is a few scientists that actually are beginning to look into that and actually believe that there was a greater intelligence behind it. But for the most amount of scientists I've seen, they basically just dismiss there being any kind of type of God.
Maybe it depends which rank scientist.
Yeah,
Maybe if you mean
I guess, yeah.
by scientist PhD, maybe he's just, he's very ambitious to become scientist, but by true, very high level scientists like Einstein, or maybe, the biggest brains in history, or I mean, professor level of scientists,
So
they,
I guess
yeah.
what I was going to ask you, if you don't believe that the Bible's right, do you believe that Jesus existed, and do you believe everything about Jesus?
I would say I am deeply, deeply inspired by Jesus. I said that his teaching became like part of me. I am shaped, even my veganism is shaped by Jesus' words. So I would say he's close to my heart. So like I have a positive, I'm fond of Jesus, but in fact, I think I should say, I don't know. I don't know about his life, about who is he and what is his relationship with God, because it is a bit, complicated for me why he ate meat. And many people are coming to, oh, Jesus ate meat. So
He
that
did,
means
yeah.
maybe he was a good person, but maybe not perfect. We cannot say he was free of sin, because after all, he ate meat. So
Well, he ate meat because that was given in God, and in the Bible it actually says everything given by God is good. So that's where it comes from.
but so again we are back to the question, does God have the right to give us another person as a food?
Well,
Because
he is the
it's an
creator, yeah.
independent person, so he must decide. God cannot decide on, for example, chicken's behalf that it's okay. No, chickens might tell you it's okay, I'm giving you, okay, eat me. God has no right to speak on somebody else
He has the
independent
right.
person behalf.
He has the right from the stance that he's the creator of everything. Yeah, I'm not saying that that it's right to like slaughter animals unnecessarily. From a necessary standpoint, giving them the best life, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, okay. I know that you are in a hurry, so and
I was
I
just going to ask you one thing before you go.
yes.
I wanted to clarify one point that you made, and it was basically where you said that Jesus on the cross is, and the suffering that Jesus had on the cross is just comparable, the same to what a pig has in a slaughterhouse. And for me, I felt that was a little bit blasphemous, because I feel that Jesus' suffering was for everything that we went through in the world, for our sins. I don't feel you can compare that.
But you apply your emotion, private emotion, and are you allowed to do this? Because you are fond of Jesus and you are not um fond of random pig.
Yeah,
And
but
this
yeah,
is
I
your
am, yeah.
own
But
feelings. And are you allowed to apply your own private feeling? You are, because you know Jesus. He's also part of you.
But
So, and this is
given the
actually
fact that
position
I've
which,
worked in a slaughterhouse and I've seen
but
it,
look, Jesus
if you
himself
could
is
do it, if you
condemning
could do it
this kind of
quickly,
this kind
if
of
you could do it
thinking.
quickly, if you could do it quickly, and I'm not saying it's right, but that isn't the same as the suffering that Jesus went through. Like, how could you compare a quick
No, no,
as possible to?
I compared that pig is as innocent, or maybe more innocent than Jesus, that they are both innocent
I can
and
agree with
they
that. Yeah,
both suffer. I mean, in this way, because of course it's not the same situation. Oh, it's obviously different situation, obviously. So I don't compare situations. I say that pig is also innocent, yes, because we always
I
say that
understand where you're
Jesus is
coming from. Yeah.
innocent and he was crucified. So pig is also innocent in this way. But also you must, Jesus himself is condemning that this kind of thinking, that when somebody is close to your heart, then you will give him special treatment, because you must have the same treatment for a random pig, like someone who is completely not close to your heart. You must be always just that, okay, I don't know this person, I don't like this person, it's even my enemy, but it's also same person as my own, for example, son, my own daughter, my own mother or father. So Jesus was teaching us this, exactly this way of thinking, that you must treat somebody completely strange to you, that you are completely unrelated with this person, as somebody the closest to your heart. So yes, so
I
in this,
think I think what I was going to touch upon last is, and it's one point that you actually made that I thoroughly agree with, and it was basically about animals having souls. For me, I totally believe in that, and I'll give you a reason why I do believe in that. Obviously, I love my dogs. My dogs are my life. All my animals in my life, as long as with my wife. But when I was a child, a very strange thing happened, and it was the first time I ever saw an animal actually pass over. What actually happened was my grandfather's cat actually had cancer of the tongue, and he was passing away for maybe about 4 months. This day he actually passed away, and myself and my mother and my grandfather were sitting in our living room, and the door from the living room actually opened, and the cat that had died actually walked in. He went to the kitchen, he turned his head and he looked at us, and he disappeared.
oh,
And that is gospel truth. The three of us actually saw it. It was me that directed my mum to it. I said, look at that, there's Tiger. And the three of us all saw it. So yeah, animals have souls. I've actually seen, like, before, even one of my dogs that have passed, sometimes I'm in the kitchen and I can feel like somebody rubbing at the back of my legs. So I do believe animals have souls, and anybody that says they don't, they're just fooling themselves, because I don't believe God would make us any different in that
yeah,
respect.
great, fantastic. This, I feel so relieved to hear this from you, from a Christian. I feel, wow, what a relief to my heart. I'll tell you just one short story, because you don't even know what an angel you always place on your channel. The guinea pig I have on my arm, on this is
Yeah.
my avatar, and you use this on also as thumbnails. This pig already passed away in June, and the story of him is, when I adopted him, he was already old and very sick.
Mhm.
Actually, soon he was dying. He was bleeding extremely, very in huge pain. He was dying when I adopted him, and then I prayed for him. I prayed, I don't know, to the God, or to whomever who has the same sensitivity as me, and
Yeah.
whoever, like, I'm not sure whether this is God himself listening to my prayers, or who, I don't know. I'm just praying, I'm begging. So, and I was praying, although he was already dying and terribly sick, losing a lot of blood. I was begging for another year of his life. I said, no, I just adopted him. He's new. I didn't even have time to give him my love. It's too fast, too fast. I just took him and he will die. No, I
Yeah.
was asking for one more year. And then I asked for more thing. I was asking like that, please make him die without pain. No pain,
Hmm.
no suffering to this little son. I want him to die without any pain, like peacefully, and also
Yeah.
fully conscious. I want to have contact with him. I want to look into his eyes and have contact with him before he's dying. And also, I want to know when it happens. I don't want to wake up one day and see, oh, he's dead. I want to be with him until last moment. I prayed for those things. Can you imagine that all those requests were like perfectly fulfilled? I received exactly up to one day, one more year. And moreover, he was even in a better condition. He was already
Brilliant.
he was stable. He was stable, but exactly one year passed. So suddenly he started dying. Like his state was stable, and suddenly he became so weak he couldn't move, because it was one year. And
Hmm.
so I took him, and I spent him like the whole night. Like, he was constantly looking into my eyes. It was amazing. I was with him, and he died peacefully without pain. Can you imagine? Everything was fulfilled.
Yeah. That's amazing.
So he's my angel. That's why I keep this so now you will know who you have there. You know, he's he's my angel.
Great.
And because all my requests, like exactly, precisely, each my request was fulfilled. I have this great hope that God must really care about animals a lot.
Hmm. I agree.
Cool. So I think so. We will finish at this point. Yes.
Yeah, I think it's been a good one. I'll just say to everybody, obviously, to go and follow Veganica. I'll put all the links down in the description below, and I'll speak to you on the next one.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you very much for your attention for today, and see
You're
you
welcome.
next time.
Thanks a lot again.